Well, there's an attempt to get this song across here. It's one of the great masterpieces of the Reverend's repertoire. And there were lots of tricks that he used to play this a little bit that I didn't do, but maybe I'll show you some of them. And so it's in G, and it's basically keeps repeating G, E, A7, D7, G chord progression. So it starts on the E7 itself, and the E7 it starts on is this Gary Davis C form E7. You know, in one of these lessons I mentioned the similarities between Reverend Davis and Merle Travis, you know, and there are some uncanny similarities, and Travis has one of his really great tunes is Cannonball Rag, and it's in G. It has the same chord progression, and lo and behold, it starts with exactly the same chord, exactly the same fingering. It's, who knows where this came from? It's just two genius guitar players perhaps coming to the same thing from different points of view. Maybe there was somebody in between who connected them. Maybe it was Alfred Schultz passing through Kentucky at one point. Who knows? But it's an amazing coincidence, and there's a lot of similarities between those styles. You know, one finger, strong right hand. You know, a lot of rhythm, a lot of triplets, blah blah blah. Anyway, I'll get started on teaching this song. So he just starts up. He slides up to the first bass, which is the A string bass, and he's using these two basses. And so for 2 bars, he stays in this E7 chord, and he really rags it up because he's sort of pulsing his hand. You want to get as much syncopation in there as you can. The syncopation comes from 2 things: a solid, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, against which on the bass, against which the treble can kind of hit that boom, bum, 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 bum. So you want to get these first couple of chords straight ahead with the right hand, the left hand working together. Now the left hand doesn't do anything but just play this chord and pulse it a little bit. And so what it does, as far as I can tell, there's a little grace note on the 3rd string, I believe. And so what does he plays the 1 by sliding up or just playing that note 1, and the first treble note is the pinch, the high string, and the 4th string, the high bass. And then I'd say there's a little grace note there before it hits in between that pinch and the low bass. And then the 1st string again by itself in the high bass. And then when it gets back to the 1 here, 1, excuse me, 3, 4, gets back to the 1, it pinches this time. Grace note, high bass, 1st string, low bass, high bass. So it's try to get that little syncopation going there as best you can. And then basically does exactly the same thing, moving to the A chord. Now the Reverend plays this A chord by covering both 4th and 5th bass strings pretty much with this 3rd finger. I have a hard time doing that, so I'm moving this 3rd finger, and I'm still using 3 basses exactly as I did on the E chord. Go to the A, same thing. So you're basically really, with the right hand, doing the same thing that you're doing on both chords. E, and then goes to a D7 and plays his double thumbing, triplet right hand roll. And this is the D7 chord he uses, I believe. It's really an A form, and it's just the 5th fret of the 1 and the 3, and the 7th fret of the 2. It's the low bass, D bass, and then moves right up to this G, and back to the D. The way I do this is I just kind of slide between the D7 and the G, and you have a lot of opportunity to do that in this song. So this time it starts out on the D7, goes up to the G. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, just keeping that. When he gets to the G, sometimes he plays this riff. Something like that. It's kind of hard to explain, but always doing. It's kind of brushing, hitting a bass and brushing. So he's hitting, and he's taking his first finger off. 1, 2, first finger off, back on, kind of really syncopated. And then he gets down to, and he's just sort of brushing. He gets down to here, down to 1, 2, 3, 4. He gets down to it, and he's sort of, I think, covering these 3 strings with his fingers. He often does, and he's almost hammering or opening up and closing from the minor third to the third. Something like that. Hammering, or maybe not hammering, but going with the thumb on the minor, finger on the major, and then bringing the thumb up to the first string, taking that first string off again and brushing it open. So the lick is. Sorry. And he goes back up, does this again one more time, same thing. And the second time through, he just goes from this D7, G, D7, and pinches these 2 Gs, brushes that G chord, and walks down here on a little arpeggio. D, B, hits the G with his thumb. Excuse me. And just keeps his thumb moving back from these 2 Gs. Pinches. So hits the low bass, pinches on the high bass, hits the first string by itself. So it's the low bass again, first string by itself, then the high bass. So it's okay, and immediately after. The way I learned it, as soon as he breaks into the next E, which is the slow E, he syncopates it. He kind of stumbles it just by hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. and it's an E7. So it's 2, 3, 4, 1. So or there's syncopation in that E chord. He's using these two basses. It's a 7th, goes to the 7th. Two fast thumbs moving there. It's still basically his right hand triplet roll. Gets to the A 7th chord, hits the bass, brushes it, uses these three basses. So it's bass, pinch, low bass, pinch, bass, pinch, low bass, syncopated high string. Okay, and then he just walks into the Blind Blake D7 walk. So from the 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the start of the next bar, he pinches. He's going to walk into a D7 chord by pinching the open E and the open A string. So he pinches the open E A string, hits the 7th with his first finger and the G bass with his thumb, and then makes the D7 chord. Hits a high bass, does it again. So work on this walk. It starts out with a pinch on the A and the E, and what's going to happen is this A is going to walk down. This is the pattern that the bass plays, and the treble goes up. The treble just goes. And to do that, pinches these A and E open. It's first fret, first string by itself, G, pinches this, D7 with the F sharp bass, hits the D bass, does the same thing. Pinch, high bass, pinch A and E, first string, G. Just work on that. This comes in handy everywhere, particularly in the key of G, and also he has whole songs in the key of D, sort of written around that, particularly a great gospel tune called Right Now, written around that particular lick. And so work on that. He does it twice. So after this comes the Gary Davis G run. The important thing about this run is how you time it, and there are different ways of timing it. When you're in the D, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. So it starts on the and, this G note, and with the finger. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and. So the finger is playing the and this happens a lot in his music. If you're playing runs, and you're doing finger thumb stuff, almost always the finger's going to play the and the thumb is going to be playing the 1, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. So that thumb is still on the quarter notes, even when you're doing the 1, and 2, and 3, and 4 kind of double time, eighth notes or runs, I guess. So. And you hit the and with your finger, the 1 with your thumb on the first fret of the G string, and then from there on it's just finger thumb, and it goes from the first two strings 3rd fret, 1st fret open, 3rd fret, 1st fret open. The next two strings, 3rd fret, 2nd fret open, 3rd fret, 2nd fret open. So until it ends on this B, on the 3, the 4 is the high bass, so it's and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. So it's just 2 bars, basically it's 2 bars on all these chords. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Back to the E, A7. The second time around when we get to this A, E, we play the G run. There, when we get to this A, he does, to my knowledge, at least 2 different things. And they're basically very similar except for the timing, and this is kind of tricky. Sometimes he'll just hit that A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So here comes another run, and the first way he plays it is he just pinches these 2 A's on the 1, 1, and then he goes down to the low bass, 1, and on the quarter note, on the 2, he hits the thumb, and then he thumb fingers all the way up, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And how he does this is he hits the low bass, 3rd fret finger, 4th fret thumb, let's see, right. And then the next string is the A string open finger, thumb, 3rd fret, 4th fret. So he's basically open, 3rd fret, 4th fret, open, 3rd fret, 4th fret. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So the next one is on this E note. And then he does, as far as I understand it, a kind of tricky little move. 1, the and is on the 4th fret. It goes from the 1 on this E note, the and is on the 4th fret, and this F sharp with his finger, brings his thumb over on his right hand, and goes from, and he's barring with his 3rd finger on his left hand on the 4th fret, these 2 strings, 4 and 3, hits, and he goes from this F sharp to this B, finger, thumb, open, G string, finger, thumb, so the finger's back on the E. So it's, by frets, it's open, 3, 4, open, 3, 4, 2, 4, 4, and then 2nd fret, the A note, open on the G string, 4th fret, D string, and 2nd fret, E note, which it ends on the 4th string. So it's a pinch, 1, 1, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So it's exactly 2 bars long. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And the next one is going to be an open D string, 1, goes up to this D form G and does his right hand thumb roll. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can go back to the D bass, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does the same thing, opens up that G chord down to a D7. And comes back to the G and pinches it. Does the same one we learned before. Then he goes back through the whole process. E, A7, Blind Blake, D7 thumb walk, and now instead of this G run, he plays a different one. He slides up, and I think he actually uses little finger. He slides up to this C position G up here, which is just the same chord that we've been playing, but it's the whole chord. And I generally use my third finger, it's just a little clearer. So it's D7, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4 is when he slides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And so, as far as I can tell, he slides up, he goes up to the first string, 7th fret with his finger, and he hits it twice, finger, thumb, and comes back down. So it's finger, thumb, finger. So it's thumb. And when he gets up to this D note, that's on the beat, and it's hit with the thumb. And does these triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the 4, he puts his thumb on the low string and slides back. So get used to playing those triplets. He just does it that many times and then slides down. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, this is the second time we've come to the A chord, and he changes up on us. He's basically playing a very similar run down here, but instead of starting out on the 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, he changes it up in a brilliant way and does this. He goes, C, 4, and 1. What he does is he hits that A, hits the A note here, and I believe it's an and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2. Boy. See how he counts it? 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I got it. So how he counts this, instead of pinching 1, 2, he hits the and on this A note when he gets at an A string, and then the 1 is on the low E string this time. So how you count this run this time is and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4. Ah, it's not it. That's it. It's the same run. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Except because he's starting it a little bit early, it's going to go a couple notes longer. So it's exactly the same run, except the beat of it is changed. So it's and 1, and this time instead of a pinch on the 1 with the A and starting the 2 on the low bass as he does in the first run, this time he starts on the and with the A note, and the 1 is on the E, low E string. He plays the run. Same thing, except this time when he gets to the E, he keeps going, goes down to the open D, and then to the D flat. So it's and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And then from the D flat goes right to the D. Okay, so there it is, the whole first part of it. And the things that you really want to pay attention to are how he counts and syncopates those runs. So as you go through this, be sure that you're doing it slowly and trying to get the count right. It really, I have to admit, took me quite a while listening to it and working through it, just to making sure that everything was counted right. Okay, from there, we go back up to, what he does is sort of alternates from the high part to the low part to the high part to the low part. And sometimes, instead of going back to the high part on this E chord, so this is the whole second time around, he goes up to this E chord. And he plays it a few different ways. Sometimes he slides up from the 11th fret to the 12th fret. What I did was I just slid up this E chord heard him do it sometimes. He kind of just hits this and tries to get 12th fret and open. It's very effective, and he just does it for 2 bars. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And he's just kind of, I don't know, playing away at it. 1. And he's just, and then so he's going to go through the progression, and he's going to just change the same progression. He's just going to go through different chords, and I have changed this a little bit. When he gets to the A, what I do is a kind of for 2 bars. Gets down to the D, does the same thing. Down to the 7th, and then I do this run. It's very close to some of the runs he does. I don't know if it's exactly a Reverend Davis run, but it's a nice run. I slide up either this way or this way onto the G. So what I do is I brush it, and I slide it at the same time, and I'm using my thumb finger, and I hit my thumb on the 3rd string, then my finger back on the 2nd string, and then my thumb on the 1st string open. This is a run that Reverend uses a lot. Sometimes he uses these fingers. And then we've got that open E string, and hit the open E string with the thumb, come down here, bar, just 2 strings, the 2nd and the 3rd, so that I go from the D, the 5, to the B flat, the minor 3rd. So work on that. Really neat run. And what I'm doing is just the right hand's the same, finger, thumb on the 2nd to the 3rd string, but the 1st finger, thumb is closed with your finger on the 3rd fret, the 2nd is open. And then the E, D. Very similar to how he ends the G run, this G run. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he hits the 1 by itself. And at this point, when he goes back up to the 2nd time around on the high part, he just hits the 1 on the bass and accents the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing. And then this famous Gary Davis walk down from a C7 position, G7, to a C, G, D7. Now, the Reverend doesn't play that note. I just automatically throw it in so I can keep the bass going down to, but he just plays the D7 this way, and the G, so it's C7 position G, C, C position D, D7 or A7 position D, any way you want to play it, with or without that note. And the famous Reverend Gary Davis, bump ba dum bump, hits the G. And does that by slapping the G chord here, sliding up to, this is an A form of a G, and it's on the 12th fret, and he just slides up these 2 fingers, or any 2 fingers, to the 12th fret, 2nd and 3rd string, and then moves from the 10th to the 12th fret, and hits that G note there on the 15th fret. And just kind of messes around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Goes back down here. Runs through. D7. Now, he still has more variations of these G runs. Sometimes instead of going and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, sometimes he 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it hits that on the 4 early, 4, 1, and then gets 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's 3, 4, 1. So how it counts is this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A run. So he goes through it again one more time, and sometimes when he gets back after the run, or after the A, and he's up here, when he comes down to the G, instead of walking down on that little arpeggio, he walks down from the 7th and to the 6th, and just walks down here on these 3 notes with his syncopated thumb roll in a beautiful, sweet, syncopated way like this. It's the G. How does he do that? He slaps his G. Immediately moves down to that 7th there, and this is your G chord, and your 7th is the F, and he sometimes will go through the progression to C to E flat 7th, same progression up that he's playing up here in Sally Where'd You Get Your Liquor, but you know he's playing it down here out of the same position, a G position, but in G position G, so it's. And usually it seems like he's just moving so fast that he's not really playing the chord. He's just walking down on this string. Either way you want to do it. You can play the chords, or you can just walk down on that string, and it's syncopated. And it's just exactly the same old finger, thumb, thumb, finger, finger, thumb, right hand, triplet Gary Davis roll, except he's walking through these chords, or walking through this descending middle bass line. 1, 2, sorry. And up into the E. So it's slaps that G, immediately walks down to, immediately goes down with his thumb. So work on that. So it's thumb, finger, thumb. That's where your 2 thumbs are. Third time, back up here. Okay. Now often, one of these times, instead of after the A, instead of going, he'll go straight to the D7 chord. So it's E7, A, he goes to this D7, he plays it this way, or maybe he plays it this way. I kind of just use one finger here, and it's just this A7 position D7 up here. You can play it with a bar if you like, or with your thumb. 3 basses moving. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, So the and 4, all these things are 2 bars. So this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this run. And it's very similar to the other run that comes down out of this G, except this time it just goes, so in D, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So after the and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. He slides, hits that thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb. See? Okay, the way I do this, I think that's right. Or I have 2 ways of playing this particular run. I either go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3. So it's slide up to this G note, to this B note, 2 and I hit the 7th with my finger and come down on the open E string with my thumb. And once again, this G minor, major, same thing we did before. Or I change the rhythm a little bit and go ba 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 ba. Back to the G, A, and at this point we're pretty much heading into the ending. And to do the ending, he just comes down. He does it countless different ways, but here's one of them. I think this is the one I did. Playing the song, comes down from the G. It's a G, walks down, and goes right up here to this G note. Sometimes gives it a good God and hits the G. So it's that's how he times it. Other times just and ends it, you know, with that flying high G run, slaps it, and that's it. Nothing to it. Have a lot of fun with this song. Keep track of how these runs are timed, and you know, go for it.